do this. So good morning, everyone. I thought maybe for the streaming and also for our distinguished offline audience, I would introduce day 2. So as you remember, you spent with us 3 or 4 or 5 hours, depending on how you felt, yesterday talking about the UIA project of UIA CUP for creativity. And during these years, CUP for Creativity established some contact, some exchange with Forward, a UIA project from Tilburg, which is considered a little bit as a twin or a sister project, working with arts, working with culture, working with performing arts to actually give different kinds of perspectives for youngsters, and a very inspiring, very successful project. So this morning we will start with a set of introductions to the project, and then we will continue with the roundtable to actually confront the Budapest and Tilburg experiences. So we'll start with Tanya first.
Yes, thank you.
Shall I do it?
Yeah, that was the one mistake I had to make first. No, it has. Oh, really? Yes. Well, a lovely audience. Welcome, welcome, all of you. We are, well, delighted to have been invited to meet. And that is what we want to do actually today, meet. So we have a presentation and we will follow it. But at the same time, it is not a presentation. What we want is, you know, we want to meet. We want to know about you. We want you to know about us. So feel free to, whenever you have a question, you know, just because we are just, this is it. So just shout out, ask your question. If you don't agree, that's also not a problem. Say it. Sometimes we don't agree ourselves as well, so we are used to it. So that's what we want, you know, feel free to interfere and make it a conversation. And if we bend sideways because of what you are thinking, that's not a problem. We'll come back to the presentation and pick up where we left. Yeah? Well, don't have to introduce, we are here, so. Just a small thing about Tilburg. Well, you can read, so I will not tell everything that's on the sheet. A city in the south of Holland, and I think especially what we have and what is also kind of in Forward, we have some high-end cultural institutes, but we also have a lot of initiative, like really grassroots, bottom-up initiative and energy within the city in different areas. But it will come later also. Oh, the picture is a bit in, well. What we have in Tilburg and what a lot of cities in Europe have is of course also areas where you face problems, problems that you want to address. And of course the reasons kind of are mentioned here, but what is also a side of the story, maybe we haven't talked everything through that we are going to say around the presentation. So if I'm going too sideways, step in. I mean, what's also part of the reality is a tendency on national level for years already, a tendency to say as a government, okay, we step back a little, let it up to the market, let it up to the inhabitants that can find their way around things, and everything will sort itself out. So as a government on national level, but we did the same actually on a local level, we stepped back actually in areas where we were needed. So now, and I think it's mentioned, the distrust in the government, and we can point, but we have to point here as well. So that's a thing that we have to keep in mind. And trust, you know, it flows out of the window, but if you want to gain it back, it takes a lot of time. Yeah, so that's, of course, the bridge to, you know, what are the challenges within the area. I'm a bit, it's warm here, or am I just nervous also about, it's probably true. So of course, the challenges that we want to address, we are addressing them on various levels, but at the same time forward, UIA, it gave also a good opportunity to really push and try things that maybe normally we would not have done, because you get other opportunities. And also with an ambition level, I mean the hundreds and hundreds of deliverables. Well, Ines and I especially are responsible for them, and then people look at us and like, but who made those up? I mean, really? But then it was actually something that came, of course, from us as well, because we had before, a long time before Forward, we had the so-called arena process with inhabitants, with youngsters, with professionals, a lot of like in a workshop way thinking about, okay, what is needed here, and not like address your needs now, but also think about what future generations might need. And from that starting point, a lot of energy and initiatives were thought up, and then came the possibility to also get a UIA funding. So Forward was actually born from that movement already. And that's also why the ambition is high. It's not just about here and now, it's about the future, and it's about, well, other generations. So you can't start with, you know, a small step only. Small steps are needed, but you have to think ahead. So, yeah, the ambition level is high. And it's on different levels, of course. So we have like initiative really with the youth, based upon identity, also connected to building trust in each other, but also in government, in other institutions, in you name it. And we do it through various ways, but they know everything. I'm just talking like. And also that was also really stated by the inhabitants. We need a space. We need a space that we can call our own, where we can do activities, where we can, and it's not just because we have what is een wijkcentrum? We have a neighborhood center, and there happens a lot, but there is a need for other spaces as well. So that was really a need that was felt within the area. And in general, we have also these kind of high-end figures that we want to reach about how many percent is, for example, criminality figures. We want to let them, well, there's a university, of course, connected in the project as well. They measure all these kind of things, and every time they say, this cannot be measured within a project. That's impossible, because what is because of the project and what is because of general tendencies? Yeah, I know, but just write it down. And so she's not here, so I can say it this way. Yeah, so these are kind of, they will, you know, my colleagues will tell a lot about all the initiatives that we have. Maybe just this one, because this is not in your presentation, I think, the mural. Yeah. So we have had a girl group, the scene. It started with the idea, because we have maybe the next one. Yeah, these are our partners. Yeah, a sideline, because the project like yours is made with partners, connected with partners from very different level. We have, of course, the system partners like we are, municipality, but also Wonen Breeburg, a housing company. That's also very institutional kind of the police, of course. But then at the same time, we have the more disruptive partners like a theater company, a dance company. And for example, the theater company, I remember one of the women who started a group for girls. She actually came into the neighborhood and to the project like, okay, and then we are going to get a group of girls and we're going to work and maybe we finish with a presentation. And then I spoke to her, maybe even in the city center presentation on stage. And then I spoke to her, I think 6 months later, and she was like, okay, that was a stupid idea. That's never going to work. The girls made it clear. Nope. And it had to start with just talking and having a meal together. And one time you cook a meal from your culture, and next time another meal. And we start drawing things that say something about our identity or about who is important in our family or in our environment. Basic. And that was a really good way to get to know each other and to work on things, and then they became ready to come more out into the world and not just into this closed group, not by presenting themselves on stage, but by, oh, now I have to go back. Yeah, by making a mural like a size, I mean, I was thinking about a mural, you know, on a small building. No, we want it on that building. Okay, but that was, these girls, they wanted a mural on that wall, and it had to be big, and it had to be from an artist that could really represent what they felt that was necessary. So it was a totally different outcome in that way that the process went. But it was a good outcome as well, I think. And of course, murals were in the deliverables, so that was nice as well. I think something else about the partners? No, I think I have said the most important, that it is complicated. All these different worlds that within the project it's complicated, outside the project is complicated. My God. It's complicated, but that's what we do and we like it, but it's complicated. But you know this as well, so let's have more talk about it. Questions, remarks, anything? Because I will hand the presentation to... You want to? Okay.
Does the mic work? Yes, here it comes. Okay. I'll talk a little bit with you about media. I've chosen this topic because in your project, media plays a role, internet, social media, IA, etc. You already noticed we have quite different partners in this project: police, schools, universities, artist companies, housing companies, but also a broadcaster, and it's a public broadcaster. It's good for you to know. Maybe you can go to the... in the Netherlands, broadcasting is regulated by law. And you have a difference between public broadcasters and, so to say, commercial broadcasters. And we introduced the public broadcaster in the project because then we had a platform that also could inform our society about what's happening in forward. With this a broadcaster. And they operate with radio, television, internet, social media, everything. But it's a project for youngsters. And we knew that the broadcaster was experimenting with youngsters. How can we bring youngsters into contact? What does a broadcaster and how do they operate from a public point of view? And what's the main difference? By law, municipality governance can't interfere with the content of public broadcasters. So they're free to bring the news as they want it. It's protected also by a special agency, that's not so important. But the influence of government is is null, so to say. And it's interesting to learn youngsters how that works and how you get your information from society. So you have some topics like fact-checking and like adversarial proceedings. What is he saying about the topic and what does the other say? We all experience now, if we have this war in Gaza, what do Hamas say? What does Israel say? What does the Red Cross tell about the information? And that's fact-checking, who is saying what and give different opinion. That's the task of the public broadcaster in the Netherlands. And for 50% of their content, there are law-based tasks, giving information, giving cultural information, and giving education topics. So that's the scope where they operate. And what they did is give these youngsters from operating in the north of Tilburg, in that neighborhood, give them a free hand to look for their own topics. Just how see you your neighborhood? What do you experience in the neighborhood? And tell it in your own way. The only thing the professionals is giving them some training about fact-checking and about these proceedings. So, and they could do it with professional cameras, but also with their telephones, because nowadays it's very easy with software to high grade, so to say, the information you get from your telephone. So then it's TV quality or radio quality. So, and so we had, and that's maybe not something to add on what Tanya told us about the neighborhood. You saw it in the figures. Tilburg is a city of about 220,000 inhabitants. And it's a quite, so say, a wide city in the south near the border of Belgium, but we have, especially in the north, concentration of a lot of nationalities. In the north are living more than 120 nationalities, so there's a different energy than in other neighborhoods, and that makes it quite special. Typical for the Netherlands, at least in the south and in the east border, is drugs criminality. We have a very liberal drugs policy, so to say, but it gives a lot of problems. And because we're close to the border, we see all kind of exchange, and that brings problems also in the neighborhoods. And not only youngsters, but all elderly people are confronted with the problems and what it brings. So that's a bit about the neighborhood where we're operating, and that way our goals to lower criminality is, of course, it's a long-term goal. You can't do that with a project of 3 years, therefore it's much too complex. But what we try with a few interventions is give youngsters possibilities to grow their talent in a special way and not challenged by criminals, so to bring the drugs from one door to another door, for example. You can earn a lot of money. We know why stories from the police. I'm working in municipality. I'm a culture policy officer and doing media policy, part of the social department, and we sometimes trained by police from this is going on in general in our city. Think about this kind of money, they find bags with cash in some houses, and for me it's a far away, working in a tower like a municipality government house. So no, we don't. I spend money for the city, like a Santa Claus give some theater companies and bands their money. So, but it's hard to figure out how this is in reality. And I think Chiara, working as from her side, she meets these problems in practice, and that's the bridge we want to make. I have to understand what's happening in practice and try to figure out how we as a municipality can react on that or anticipate on that, and it's difficult. That's a very difficult task. So, and the T report was one of the ways from a broadcasting point of view to get closer to the stories that are in the neighborhood, and especially the stories from youngsters. Because if I was a journalist, old grey white man coming to youngsters from Morocco, to Turkey or whatever, they don't trust me, they won't tell the story, but if their own people come there and from their own age, they feel more confident to tell something. And even then it's hard, I think, but it gives us first steps to get to the information and what is alive, what do they as youngsters experience in the neighborhood. So is it successful? I think I skip a few, but one of the problems is just all media problems. This recognized all over the world. In Europe, we have all the same problems. What do the media? And maybe one thing to pinpoint is the influence of internet and social media. We were used to television, we were used to newspaper. They're all going down in their results because people change to internet, they change to social media. Everybody can be a broadcaster. If I take my telephone, I have a studio in my pocket, to be honest. I can make movies, I can make a podcast, can do everything. It's my information, but how trustful is my information? And especially for youngsters, and I think that Chiara can tell a lot about that too. It's interesting, yeah, it's just throw all the problems to Chiara, you know. No, but then and we have to figure out as a society, and it's the same with the AI discussions I heard yesterday, what's the influence of AI on the information we get in our society, from whom? You can manipulate a lot. So what can we trust? And a lot of youngsters are living in information bubbles. They have their own groups on social media, not interested in any other information. So what do they believe? What do they think that's happening in our society? And it's, yeah, from a broadcasting point of view, it's interesting, but also just in general. If you see how people are studying in university, getting their information to do their research, it's also interesting. Where do they find their stuff? And what do they with the facts and figures they think are real. So it's really interesting what that's happening there. And then a little bit about sustainability. It's for all the projects for UIA, it's important. How can you find ways, the things you discover, to bring it further into the future? And as a policy maker, that's part of my job. And it's difficult because there are special moments that you can write down and make a beautiful story, and it will last for a few years. And then you try to bend what's happening in society. And we did it in a few, I've done it in a few ways, so to say. Realizing the T-reporters, it was an idea that came up 2 years before we started the project. The project was a like catalysator for the T-reporters idea. We could concentrate them in one neighborhood and find out more than we had 2 years earlier. And so I have to make appointments with the broadcaster. As a municipality, we raise money for the broadcaster, but we can't interfere with the content, what I told you before. What I can do is say, okay, I want you, for example, elongate the program with the T-reporters for 3 years. And you can pinpoint the money for helping these youngsters with media items. So in that way, in the organization of the broadcaster, I can interfere a little bit. And what you want as a policymaker is not to fix it too strictly. At least two reasons are there. First of all, society is constant moving. Dus you want some possibility to be flexible what's happening next year or the year after. That's one. But a very important point is that people in politics, they don't want definitions, is my experience after 15 years. Definitions are killing political people. Why? They can't bend. If something happens in society and you have a strict definition, a lot is out of the rules you made. And there are constantly conflicts in the political arena for an alderman or a mayor. Why don't you tackle this problem? Why don't you tackle that problem? So if I make some policy, there's always, so to say, an in-between area. It's roughly motivated. It's roughly written down what we do. So there's always some possibility. Can give you a point for artist point of view. I say I'm in the culture department too, so we raise money for theater companies, and they want to be authentic in the way they do the theater or their music and the bands. But we saw in general, it's a tendency in whole Europe, that young artists are more engaged with society than before. It's just so they relate to, for example, health problems or whatever, doesn't matter. And our rules were not open to that kind of discussions because there were other people making policy on health and they were not thinking about art, for example. So now we opened up a kind of policy. It's called Arts and Social Impact. Nobody knows what it is. It's social impact. So whether it's about health or something else, at least it's social. It can be poverty, it can be loneliness. So, and that gives you a kind of structure where political people can find their ways also to make their point. So, and we can raise money for the artists that are busy in these kind of topics and questions. So that's a little bit of what policy making means. And it's nice to be here because I know what I was doing when I was now in Tilburg doing on my office. So, but I like to talk a little bit about it. So if there are questions now about a little bit, yeah, there's no clock at the moment. There's a difference between yesterday and today. If you have immediate questions about media, we can do it, and otherwise I hand over the...
But maybe just short about Yoko Join.
Oh, Yoko Join. Yes, that's another way. I thought about policy, but we were lucky that we find out that Creative Europe had a program out about journalism. They have more programs, and one was to think about what means it for youngsters, the next journalism in the next generation. So we raised some ideas together with some other countries, and it was a succeed. And now we raised money from Europe for this project, lasting for 2 years. And it's also a city of Hungary involved, but I've forgotten the name. Maybe you. Yeah, I even can't pronounce it. So, but I trust them. So yeah. So and Slovenia and Italy and Great Britain is involved. UK even. Yeah.
Sorry. No, but it's we just say it like, oh, okay, Yoko joined in there. But I mean, it's actually a huge success. I mean, some team reporters and just, you know, going into Europe. And of course, Omroep Tilburg, the partner itself, they are shouting it out like, Omroep Tilburg goes Europe. And it's something, it's huge. Well, to us, it's like, okay, that's nice, sustainability. No, it's huge. Okay, thanks.
Okay. You have one more slide.
Is it important? I think the most important thing. I think the most important things have been said. But
okay. Then I have my own microphone, and I think Chiara and I will start now.
Hello. Oh yeah.
Yes, Chiara.
First of all, I'm not the solution. I have a own different perspective than the municipality most of the times, but that's okay because then we have a lot of discussions about a lot of things, I guess, and I'm not always agreeing with them, but that's okay, I guess. Yeah, I want to tell you about my practice. I'm a youth worker. I'm a project manager now, and I'm a local from the hood, so I know what is playing there in all the ways, I guess. And I see a lot of, they don't trust the system or the partners, so it's a difficult, challenging neighborhood, I guess. Volgens mij moet je eentje terug, of niet?
Nee.
Oh nee, oops.
Oh, nee, dat is...
No, it's okay.
No.
I just want to share you some 3 practices where I'm working on. And with Ines, I will tell you a little bit about it and the working principles and the lessons learned. What I think we have to learn after this project, or still. So you can imagine Forward is a big project in one neighborhood. It's a small neighborhood, I think, with a lot of programs from the municipality. So we have Forward, but we have a lot of other programs. Now, in the village and the locals, experiencing a lot of program with a lot of new partners from the inside and the outside. So it's a lot busy with partners who are telling the locals what, how they must participate in all their programs. So you can imagine we have 40 partners in a small neighborhood, and that's I think that's the biggest challenge to work together, because of everyone has their own vision and everyone wants a little bit of a piece of the locals so they can make their program. And I'm very honest. So you can imagine a lot of partners are coming to us, to the youth work organization, like, hey, can we talk to youngsters? I was like, okay. But the next 6 months, I was only talking to people and explain them, this is not the way we are participating with the youth, because only talking is not participation. So I forced with EMC Weekend School. EMC Weekend School is a school for youngsters. They don't have they have less possibility in the education, so they get school on Sunday with police officers came by to tell about the job, or ambulance, or different sectors of where they can probably get a job in. So they come to the youngsters to tell what the possibilities are. And also they have the same questions. They always want to talk with them, but we are searching for, okay, how can we really participate? So what's in it for youth if you come ask something? So together we forced the youth work and EMC together, and we raised Noordvoerders platform. It's a youth participation platform where our only goal is, in all the program from the municipality, is that we want to raise all voices of the youth, and we want to know, and we want to, how you say it? We want the trust from the partners. We want the equal voice from the partners who are coming in the neighborhood, and also they're getting paid. Why don't get the youngsters paid for their time? They have to invest to make program with them. It's crazy sometimes, I think. So now we have Noordvoerders, and I'm very proud of it, because they are now sitting on tables and talking with all the partners, and they're getting paid. It's a bit, zwart-wit, hoe zeg je dat?
Yeah, black and white.
It's a little bit black-white story, but sometimes the solution is very simple, I guess. And I think it's working because of they have. Last week they were in Austria to get a conference in the UIA to debate over youth participation. So they get a lot of chances now, and they feel, that the partners are feeling them and hearing them and giving chances. So that I think that's the most important thing. And they have a place called Studio Noord. So they have a home base in the city, in the heart of Tilburg Noord, where they have a place and they build it up together like this. Where they can make program and explore activities from young program makers. So yeah, it's I think very important to have a studio, of a place for the youngsters where they can be and make their own program with a little fund. And that's where Ines going to tell you about it.
Yeah, thank you, Chiara. And like you said, you were grown up in Tilburg North, and I used to work as a youth worker way back 20 years, I think, ago, something like that, 18 years ago. And I know Chiara when she was a little girl of 8, and she came to my activities, and so I know the city quarter as well, and I share the same vision as she is telling us about. You know, like there are a lot of system players in that neighborhood, and everyone wants to tell something about the people, but not with the people. And I think you must go a step farther. No, you must listen to what the people want, and then give them ownership, and let them register their lives and their things they want to organize in their neighborhood. So a little bit like a municipality and system players back off and give space to the real experiment. How do you say? People who know, experts who know their neighborhoods, so the neighborhood himself. So one of the deliverables, and I see myself, I said it in the beginning of the project. I started a year ago as a project manager forward. I said, okay, I will be the deliverable hunter in this one, because over 150 deliverables / projects, that's a lot. But one of our, I think, beautiful deliverables is creating the youth fund. And a few months ago, we started with delegation of the Noordvoerders, but also with the neighborhood organization, because we also have a neighborhood organization in which inhabitants participate. It's also a platform, but a platform with mostly elderly people. And we wanted to connect them as well together to create this youth fund. So we were just sitting, you know, at the table, and I asked them, okay, how do you want to organize this? And what do you need? So they came up with an idea to organize it like this. So basically the Noordvoerders are the coordinators. All the applications come in at their website or through the mouth-to-mouth PR, because they are well known in the area, as well as the youth workers and the neighborhood association, and they made their own PR and a very a great TikTok short movie. I mean, it was really with a local influencer, made by a local influencer. So all these kind of things helped to to make it a success, because we started, I think, about 3 months ago with a PR campaign, and we already have 26 applications in 3 months, and that's pretty much. And what we also do is, it's, you know, like the youngsters have ideas. Some youngsters have ideas which they can work out immediately. So they have a plan of approach, an idea of the budget, etc. But there are also a lot of youngsters who only have great ideas, but they don't know how to organize it. So we have so-called buddies in the youth workers, but also some project partners from Forward are buddies. So they will basically talk with the youngster about the idea, and then make it a kind of concrete with them, and helping them. So we think this is also a sustainable way of thinking and organizing things, in which you help youngsters to make their own proposals. So later on, if they have some other ideas, they can do it by themselves. So what are basically the most important working principles we think to have that success and to have that commitment? And Chiara pinpointed it a few minutes ago. That ownership, that is youth ownership, really crucial. Like, don't talk about them, don't decide for them or think for them, but no, let them in the lead. And we as partners should facilitate their ideas and dreams. And one other, okay.
Is this working? Yeah. Are you going to tell how hard it was also with the youth funds?
Concerning?
No, because it is, we want exactly that ownership, and we have this plan and youth funds, and then it comes together by talking to inhabitants and youngsters and Noordvoerders. We say, okay, we start, and then the legal department comes.
Oh yeah.
and then I look at the financial administration. And it's hard. That's what I want to say as well, because we're doing it. We're not already sure if we can, do it exactly the way that is needed, for example, to UIA rules, but we do it anyway because we have to experiment and we do it. But we're taking a lot of risk, and sometimes, of course, there are people behind our backs in the municipality. But that's also that's the way we have to learn, but we have each time to fight, of course, within our organization as well to make it possible. And at the same time, our organization says, do it with true participation. Yeah. It's hard.
Yes, it's hard. But sometimes you have to just do it, So we are just doing it, and we'll see the problems afterwards. Kind of. Chiara.
Hello. Also, why it's important to facilitate their ideas, because I'm all day working in the living environment of the youth, but for me it's difficult because of the way they are living online is crazy. It's going so fast, and I don't know if I have any more the holistic. How do you say it? The holistic view of how they live now these days, because of the propaganda war, Israel-Palestina example, or how they move online, of how they make connections online is crazy. But I think that's why now and in the future, the youngsters are my experts, not the partners, because the systems and etc. I believe there are working elements, but the most important thing, I guess, is how can I learn from them? And I'm pretty young, still pretty young. So for me, it's difficult. Yeah, sorry, I don't want to go there. But no, yeah, but that's I think a big challenge. This is why I pinpointed here also we have to facilitate them and learn from the youngsters what are their living environment now, how to make friends. Because of COVID, it really has a bad influence, I guess. And also how we can work like a youth fund with building trust between the partners, the government and the youth. Give them trust. I think is the most important thing. Also, in the future, I guess it's so important to work crossover with AI technology. We can't work with them anymore. We have to. We have to work together. A lot of crossover sectors to be, still together, working on different challenges. I don't think only the youth work of only the system partners. So that's, I guess, the most thing I miss in Ford is the technology. We don't have it because that's, I think, the most important thing now. And to have a hive mind. I think we need the 360 perspective, so we have to work to the challenges. Equal stakeholders, because of the Noordvoerders now have an equality with the other partners and the trust. And I think role models are the most important thing, because we have a lot of partners, but also we have a lot of role models in the neighborhood. Where is their place for them? Is there a place for them? Or do we have, hoe zeg je verhouden? Of do the locals need to level to the partners? That's not my way. I think it's the other way. Lesson learned. Do you want to say something about the role models? No?
No.
I remember, and maybe you can bevestigen, confirm. Because first it was talking about role models, and then it was talking to hopefully role models. But at the same time, what started is that we also have to protect people. Because when you become a role model, then of course other people in the neighborhood can say, "Oh, so you're from Forwards," and then there's already some kind of distrust. You're working together with the government, right? And that's something I think a lot of us or our partners didn't realize enough. And it's also with the Youth Fund that we are very you know, when because there are applications, but some applications might not be rewarded. Is it up to the Noordvoerders to say it, or should we say it because we have to protect the Noordvoerders? That's also difficult because, you know, you want parts that function totally independent, but at the same time, as a government, you need to sometimes protect maybe, and well, it's also something that is
a challenging issue. Yes. Challenging issue.
Yes.
Shall we make this a working microphone?
Yeah. Thanks. How is the decision process is working? Who is making the decision, and what type of youth ideas are coming out?
And the decision making within the youth funds. I'll give the mic to. Oh, you have a mic.
Yeah, we do have 3 mics there. That can be traveling mic.
I will be the traveling mic. No, but I actually love it.
Oh, staat hij uit?
Hello? Oh, sorry. Which decisions?
So the decision when there comes an application for the youth funds, who decides and in what way, and also what kind of applications have we received so far?
We have the Noordvoerders as advice commission, so they're the first contact for the youngsters. So they see them, speak to them. The Noordvoerders are helping them to register the application, and then they send it to a stimuleringscommissie. Stimulation commission, and the commission is a local, some youth worker, the municipality, a colleague of Elko, to have a wider perspective, and also they can learn from each other how everybody looks at one application, and then they have to decide if it's okay. Now we have 26 applications and still running more. Examples of the applications are a hijab pop-up store, so they want to make hijabs, but also for the neighborhood because of there are little stores where they can buy those things. Music projects, so they want to make music project, video clips, an Insta museum, sip and paint, but not alcohol. It's a thing. Festivals, a lot of festivals they want to organize. It's so different because it's so nice to see the difference of the applications. And they representing, I guess, the people in the locals, the different cultures, and they all want a different way to organize some things for their own culture. So I think that's a very nice way.
Can
Maybe
I elaborate a little bit on that one, because the decision making it was a problem, of course. You have these youngsters that can decide, give an advice, then you have a committee. But for law, it's important what organization in the end is responsible, not for the success, but if you have complaints. And there we had a discussion. And we find out...
Legal department.
Yeah, in our legal department, we find what's the best way. If you have a municipality in the end responsible, you have a kind of law system that's completely different than if you have an organization like Renewed, where Chiara is working. In the end, we decided it's the best to make it flexible, to let Renewed to be the organization that's responsible in the end. So, but you have to find out, because the idea, it starts as a grassroots idea, so let youngsters decide, that's fair, you know, but you have always keep in mind what Chiara and Tanya told of Chiara, Ines, you have to protect the youngsters too. And it's not only youngsters, even if we're elderly, you had exactly the same problem. They have their own ideas, they think it's simple, and then there's one person who starts complaining. And I'm not agree with that, I go to court. That can happen, and it happens. So you have to think about that situation, and that we find out during the start of making this fund possible, so to say.
Yeah, so we checked that a week or so ago, Tanya. So we talked with our expert on that in our municipality, and she also said, okay, but if you say this is a fund is a kind of a legal terminology, but she said, but it's not a fund in that kind of word. So it's basically, okay, you have an amount of money and you give that to this commission to let youngsters organize activities. So that's that helped us. So if there are complaints, and there is one complaining, then we agree to do that together because it's a shared, I think it's a shared responsibility. But the stimulating commission, I mean, they give the arguments why they say this complaint, okay, you can complain, but this and this and this are the arguments why you get a no from us. And if that person doesn't agree, he will not, because we know him, then it's up to Chiara and me to have this conversation with him, and also to say, okay, this was said by the simulation commission, these are the arguments, and you can complain, but okay, you can go to the municipality, but we won't do anything about it. So the only way he could, it's him, he can get complaints, go to court, but yeah,
a little bit context about him, because of we have a lot of challenges, also religion challenges, how they can participate to our system, and he is a big player in some religion communities. So it's not, he is a big influencer. So we have to be careful how we talk and what we say, because of they are the most, I think, vulnerable communities now, because of our new president, maybe, Wilders.
Yes, Wilders, yes. Oh, we have extra challenges coming, yeah. I know you have a question. I'm coming back to you. First, I want to pose...
She's becoming the moderator now.
I'm taking over. I have a new role. No, but I actually want to, I have a question to UIA. So, I mean, maybe we should have said this today has to be confidential, because you know what you hear, like how we start, and that it's not completely, it will be in the end, it will be by the rules, but already our own colleagues were saying, okay, so you have a fund, but it's not a fund, and what are you going to do with a complaint? And we're like, it's not a decision, you call it a decision. So when you hear this kind of development, does it surprise you, and how do you think we should address it? Are you? No, I'm sorry. I spotted. I'm putting you on the block. Is it okay for you to just? Oh.
We're in aging game.
Yeah. Well, I felt already aging here, so we can continue.
You are the senior. Okay.
Sure.
I wouldn't say that it surprised me, in the sense that for us, from our point of view, the projects, they are application form at the beginning. So it's really sentences and activities and deliverables and something very mechanical, and which does not have anything to do with what is actually going to happen concretely on the ground. So it does not surprise me, because it never happens exactly what is written in the application form. There is always something completely different which is going to happen. And what do you want to?
I was going to say, it's normal in terms when you want to put in innovation, of course nothing is going to work out the way you think it's going to work out. What you put in the beginning of the project, it's really a direction, a main direction to not get lost. Because sometimes when you start going into implementation and you start doing activities and you start going really into the micro detail of doing things, you can sometimes forget or lose really the higher purpose of what you're doing. So at the end of the day, what you put in as micro activities, if that changes or that doesn't work out, it doesn't really matter, because at the end of the day, you're still going towards the same goal. And at the end of the day, after, say, 3 or 4 years of implementing and trying to make something come out of it, you still have something coming out of it, even if it's not what you thought it would be. but it doesn't matter because you still learn, and you still learn a lot from that, and that's also like part of the experiment. And I mean, I think it would be almost unsatisfying if everything went as programmed, because it means that it wasn't a new idea and you didn't experiment. So I guess it's the right road actually to be wrong.
We will call you later.
No, but it's actually very nice what you say, because I think about one of the presentations yesterday, you know, you fall in love with your own ideas. Yeah, we do it all the time. I mean, I do it. But I love when things go as we plan them, and it never happens. Shusha, welcome! Our star guest is here. Thank you. Still, you still have a question?
She's taking over the show.
It feels very off topic now, no, but I think it's very interesting because yesterday we had this question, exactly the same question posed about how much can we change, how much can we experiment, how much can we maybe turn the whole thing upside down? Can we do it? And apparently we can, so it's great. But I want to go back a little bit to Chiara and the question of influential people of all kinds, because you know in the youngster realm, some people are very visible, very influential. Can you pay specific attention to them? Can you try to engage people that you know they have a specific influence? Can you map these people? Is it legal? Is it something you can do? Is it something you're trying to do? So how do you identify maybe the key people who should be on board? Because then suddenly thousands of people can be on board.
I have a really relating question. Yeah, because I had pretty much the same question as well. The first part of the question is how you identify those local influencers that you already talked about. Because what we found here in Wibuda is that we know quite a few, we know this ecosystem, but we tend to forget there are newcomers as well who might function as influencers. So it's really hard not to stick with those that we already know, but the new emerging ones. So I think this is a really good question of how you identifying, and also once you identified news, old, whatever, how you mobilize them. Is it like your special incentives, or it's more of a like informal way of they doing it on their own, or how you involve them in the process?
Shall I start and then you fill in, Chiara? Because it's very informal. I mean, and how do you get to know it? It's also a feeling you have. And a kind of a feeling of, it's like a group dynamics. You see the natural leaders or the natural speakers. I look at Ilko or Tanya. You feel it. But how can you feel it, and how can you get to know it? You have to be there. You have to be present in that area, with the people in the neighborhood. And be aware, what you say, okay, we have our usual suspects, we call them the usual suspects, you know. I mean, they're important as well, but never think, okay, so this is it, now I know the neighborhood, now we have our role models, and let's go on for the next years. No, it's a very dynamic and organic process. But you can only pinpoint it and get to know it very well if you are in the neighborhood, and you know the people, and the people know you. And
I think the youth organization, the youth workers are very important in this thing, because of we are the basic of our works is we have to be present in their living environment. So we came. At their school, at their homes, they come to us, so we come to them. So I think that's the most important thing, that's the basic. And the second is, yes, we have usual suspects, but they can be ambassadors to build the trust within each other, because we have a lot of cultures, I think 121 living there, there's a lot of, so everybody has their own culture, their own values, how they want to live. And I think first you need to know what means it. Second, I think you have to know when are you a role model? What is it? You know, it's a term, I guess, but I see a lot of role models on different ways, on different levels. So that's the first two questions. I guess that's the most important thing. And also yeah, go in the living environment, see what they are moving, see online what they are moving. I have one deliverable, made a magazine. A magazine is now pretty popular with the youngsters. I invited 15 youngsters who are not the usual suspects, and I searched them with the youngsters. So I asked a youngster, he was 15, what is your role model? And he said, this one. Okay, cool. We do him in the magazine. And now we have 15 till 19, but in that process, I think we have 20 more. And that's an ongoing process, I guess. But the most important thing, when are you a role model? I don't know. That's for them. It's not for me. So that's I think the first question you have to ask. And the social works as they are also important. But the challenge is like the criminality is very big. When I was young, I challenged too the influence of those challenges. And I think we need to more have activities and programs so they have another choice. But the most important thing is they have already a lot of beautiful things, and the partners now, I don't think they are culturally relevant for the youngsters because they have a very different living environment than the municipality who applicate this whole partners. They've chosen a lot of partners, but how can you be relevant for the youngsters is the most difficult question, I guess, these times. I hope I answered.
Yeah.
Shall we have a coffee break first and then do the round table discussion? I don't know, there's no clock. I have my watch, but...
No, but I have one thing. One thing I want to mention is because of the lot of discussions we have is because of I think the impact is directly on the neighborhood and the youngsters, and I think the municipality is more, they measure the sources from the resources they have. So they look from the resources, what's the success, and I'm looking that's their fundamental success, so the money, the project, the partners. Fundamental success, my fundamental success is what is there for the youngsters now and after the project. And that's the way, I think that's the most sustainable, but also the most discussion I have with them, because I look fundamental different to the successes.
What I was about to suggest that maybe we fade into the roundtable discussion if you don't specifically need a coffee, and I would just invite. Yeah, we can because I think we have a good vibe now, and there's a lot of questions. So I would go on as well, and I would invite Rihad to join the space, and I think Chiara, you could stay if you like. Please.
She wants coffee, but she stays. They stay here. We give them coffee. Yeah, we continue.
Moderate and I serve coffee.
Oh, good. Yeah, we do it. I love it. Is it all right for you to just go on? Because now we're in the process, so come on and... Yeah. And with one sweet in it for Chiara. One, what is it? Is one those sweet things in it? The coffee. Yeah. One for her, please. I love giving orders. So we wait a bit for the coffee. I'm coming to you also. You have a question, right? I'm coming to you in a minute. You have questions? I'm coming to you.
We can bring another chair or make a circle.
We can be double moderators.
I love it. I love your socks.
Oh, thank you very much.
It's really with the snow still a bit.
Very nice, colorful combination.
I think quite, what's the name
EU
of that?
opposite.
Complementary opposite?
That's a good question.
Okay. Anyone familiar with color theory, maybe?
Definitely.
Doro?
Opposite strengths.
Opposites of...
It's the Ukraine flag.
The Swedish flag.
The Swedish.
The red is the alternative.
Familiar with color theory, but
I think it's nice as well. Okay.
should we start from the point that Chiara addressed with when is the project success? I'm sorry, am I? No, but go, you interfere and... never give the mic away, yeah. No, but I loved, I mean, because this is fundamental, right? When do we call the project successful? Is it like Chiara says, well, you can say all your chip, check, but what do I see from the youth? What has happened there? And of course, we say, well, I say, but Oko will tell about it more, I guess, because the university, of course, has the task to measure it. And the university, like I shortly addressed, says, well, it's complicated because all these interviews, it's not really scientific and We will measure it, but we will do it, what's it called, on not like statistic, but more like with the stories and so they have interviewed youngsters and they will interview them again and again and again to try and find, you know, what has happened for them, what do they see, so I think that is also part of our measurement. And do you, well, I'm not going to pinpoint because I noticed that I scare some people off when, but not you, right? No, never, that's nice. Do you think this method of measuring is enough? Oh, you have a mic, yeah. And then the second, I want the same question in a wider perspective, like how do you do it here with your project? Because you will have the same challenges, I think.
That will work. Yeah? No. Okay. The question was, if is the measurement like how Transo does it with us, interviewing youngsters, etc. Do you think this is enough? No. Oh. Hello? Yeah. Okay. No, I don't think it's enough because of the usual suspects where we are talking about. They have not the time, I guess, in the project to have a wider perspective from different kind of youth communities living in. Transo, the university researcher, is only researching about the activities where the youngsters coming. But I think the most important thing is, and the interesting thing is, why don't we interview the youngsters who are not willing to come? I think that's the most important thing. And I said it a lot of times to her, that's also for me interesting. Why don't you come to those activities? Because that's, I think, the most important thing.
But can you reach the unreachables?
Yeah, if you have time and you are working in the neighborhood, building trust is not in one day. So you have, I think, 3 years time to have work on the trust, and you can move with us to street work. We do street work, so if they have issues with the police, we come, we talk to them. Do you need something? Why are you doing this? That's the most crucial things and activities we all deliver in the neighborhood. Why are you coming not with us to talk to them, and not from interviewing like me? I'm not representative enough for the whole all the youngsters there. I'm not. So we have the Noordvoerders. They now are the usual suspects, but the most important thing is, I also said to them, they have each a wider network and from different communities in Tilburg North. Make sure you're the bridge to the partners and to the youngsters. So, yeah.
Yeah, I understand what you mean. Thanks. Anybody from your perspective, from what's happening here, do you recognize the problems with, you know, measuring what is happening, or do you recognize the problems with really engaging to people who are not like easily coming towards activities but are a bit further away? Do you recognize anything of it? This is a friendly question.
Is it? Yeah, so we actually got a whole working group for that, monitoring the major outputs and the people we reached, but it's really focusing on who we reached and not whom we haven't really. So I think that is something that we struggled as well. And for us, I think the most difficult part was to reach those in the outskirts of the district. Because here in the city center, at Bartók Béla Boulevard and the surrounding streets, it's really easy to know the existing ecosystem, those key stakeholders. They attract others, so more or less they pop up on our map or our mental map as well. But in the surrounding, more of family house type of areas, it's really difficult to have this type of activities, to these type of services, to find these type of people, because they are a little bit like sleeping town as well. But when it's not, and then it's really hard to see or to find them. So I think that is something that we struggled with as well.
Do you want to comment on it? Because I see you recognize a lot.
Not the reach. I would reflect on the interview stuff that you want to measure with interviews, and I have to say that we also planned this, that we will measure some indicator with interviews, because there are just some measurements which you cannot do qualitatively or quantitatively. You need this kind of stories, which have, for example, we have two indicators. One is that how the participants' creativity increased during this period of time, and it's very. We discussed it with some academic people, and there are no measurements for this. So, and we really believe it's okay. So we hope.
No, it's like the when we're talking about system worlds and then the academic worlds. I think it's, you know. I know you have very nice questions.
It was more, and you don't have to answer it if you don't want to, but like, do you feel that your projects were successful? And if yes, by which measurement? But not just by the indicators if you managed to complete the application form. I think that's not the measuring unit here that I'm asking you.
You first.
We've got a perfect person for that.
Okay, I would like to answer that if it's possible. Yes, the short answer is yes. A more detailed answer. Okay, I'm trying to elaborate my answer. So, I have this perception that I don't know if it is actually in your countries as well, but here there is this kind of stereotypical perception of politics that there are how to put it in English. So there are those Aunt Marys there. You know, Aunt Mary is a typical pensioner who is living in a socialist block, visiting only the market to buy the csirkefarhát. Help me translating that. How do you call the back place of the chicken? I don't know how to say that. Not the cheap meat. Okay, buying cheap meat, and always, you know, hanging around politics and always angry about somebody and hates the youth. Either side of the politics. So Aunt Mary can be found everywhere, but I think Aunt Mary doesn't really exist. Of course, there are some people with these kind of characteristics, but the idea that we are doing politics for Aunt Mary is absolutely useless. Because Aunt Mary, if she exists, she's not going to socialize. She doesn't have the potential to have an impact on society. So she's a stereotypical witch from a folk tale. But actually, in our cities, true people live, who can be mobilized, who have the potential of activity, and it is them to whom we should reach out. And in this sense, I think it was a really mindset-altering project for our way how to run politics. This is the first part. The second part, let's put it into the concrete level. For example, when can Adopter be successful? This is a concrete question. I think from the management side, Adopter can be successful if procurements are correctly run, if infrastructure building is great, if interior design is good, and on the other side, on the running side, if people are coming. And now we can rise back up to the strategic level. If we have new connections, like, for example, one member of the IPCC participated, Ürke Forshas Diana participated in one of our conversations when we were talking about green transition, but also large investors like, I think it was someone from the Big Four participated in our what kind of investment trends can be expected because of the green transition. And these are the connections that are not usually imagined as useful in a typical Aunt Mary. We are doing politics for Aunt Mary mindset. So we have to subvert this kind of mindset. Or our project can be deemed as successful if we can create synergies. For example, yesterday we mentioned this university song contest. And it was really fun how we were able to help the winners of the song contest to participate in national level festivals, but in our own festival as well, we organize. It's called Bartók Fest, and it's actually independent from the UIA project, but not independent from the idea of it, as we realize that if we consider the Bartók Quarter, this neighborhood in the larger district, as an organic and organic part of the city with a dense ecosystem, then we have to try to represent it to the outside world and also to our district as well. This is how Bartók Fest was created. It's not just a music festival, it's also a kind of representation how we think about urban development and how we think about living in a cultural district like this. And we were able to make great synergies there. So this is also a good measurement. Or let's talk about the stuff and last. I'm sorry, because it's, as it was mentioned yesterday, Leventa said it. We could talk about three years consecutively about the project. So, for example, in the case of our platform, Insert platform, even if we have a robust infrastructure there, we don't really see how these connections can be really enhanced by the platform. So that's, I'm not saying that it's a failure, because there is the IT infrastructure, but it's not as a success as Adapter is working right now. So so when we're talking about success and feedback, we always have to talk about concrete things, because on general stuff we can just talk about Aunt Mary's, I think.
Yes.
May I add something?
Sorry. We are going to talk about the success of Forward now?
Yes.
Yeah, but I want to give an outside view first. Okay. Would you do the honors? I mean, here is our UIA expert, Zsuzsa Gravelic, and she just came in. And we are very happy with that. But are you comfortable with just a short answer? Do you think Forward is successful, and if so, in what way? And you can be honest, so if you say it's a total failure, you can, and I know you will say it as well, right?
Yes, I would, but I'm not saying that. I think it was, and it is successful, and mostly what Chiara was saying about, that it managed to, and Ines, we talked a lot about it, that we managed to put the face of the municipality down to earth in North Tilburg. So I think we, through the project, and I think it was not really the initial plan of the project, but with the Northwooders and like with the system of you need local people to whom you can trust, like it's a bridge of trust, or trust of bridge, I don't know which is the good expression, but like both parties can trust, and they can make the bridge between, like, let's say, a municipality which is always like with his Aunt Mary's is always attacked that this is not good, that's not good, this is not working, blah blah blah, and they can make and afraid of going out, things like that, and there is this bridge, and you can activate the people. You could give, very trustfully, you gave the trust to these people to organize their own fund and it's not the municipality who decides who gonna be financed, but it's them. So it's like it's a trust relation from both sides, and I think it's a model which can and could be used in. So it's not only a successful Tilburg, but it's a successful European example as well, I think. Oh, wow. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Now we're talking.
I know you wanted to react. Oh, are you? Oh, I'm sorry, Ilko. I noticed I made him very sad. Sorry.
No, you didn't make me sad. It's just a thing about success. I don't know whether you know the artist David Hockney. He made a pronouncement, there is no right perspective. And I totally agree on this statement. There is no right perspective. It's same with the success. There are a lot of perspectives on success. And we have 12 partners in Forward. They have their own perspective on success. I can pinpoint some things. As a member of a part of the municipality, things are a failure, but there's also successes. And I think the same for Renewed, the same for ROC, an educational organization, the police, they can see what happens 3 years and they formulate their own perspective on failures and successes. And I think that's the way you have to look to this process, to this project, not thinking there is one general idea about success. That's the only thing I want to say.
You make a lot happening with your question. Thank you. It's nice. Do you want to react still, or?
It's better not here.
Yeah. No. Okay. Get it. No, Come on. Get it. Get it.
Because of the policymakers are. Why did I say it?
Sing it.
Because of de hoe noem je dat? Referentiekader.
Reference, your point of view.
Yeah, the point of view. I'm agreeing, Ilko, of course, but we are making a policy, and who are making the policy? I think there are people who has a good life, they have money, they are, well educated. There are many open doors for people who have a good education paper. I have not a university education paper, so a lot of the doors are closed. I can't work as example. I don't know if it's true, but I can't work at the municipality because I don't have the right papers. So, because I think I'm one of the locals and I went through some challenges, so I think I have the most value. Information to make probably other policy. So I think that's a system where that we are living a long time in, and that's a lot of. It's very complex, but that's why I measure my success. Fundamental, I have another vision about it. So I think that's for me very difficult to talk to the municipality and the directors of. I'm now in a position because I'm a project manager now. I can talk and I can sit at those tables, but I have constantly the same question. I think, why are you like the subject drugs criminality? Why are you making policy and you don't know what the challenges are from 8-year-old boys who are forcing to do something in the drugs criminal? It's crazy, and I think, huh? But yeah, I have to watch and that I'm not too negative. But it's for me, it's very difficult to navigate when I'm saying this or that, because otherwise people don't take me serious enough with my information, So I think that's the question behind your question, I guess.
May I ask a question to the project of Hungary? Because yesterday in one of the presentations, I don't know exactly what, you have these grassroots ideas, living and being here, developing. And there was a sentence in one of the presentations, we want to bring them in the system. Did I read it well? That's my first question. But it's irrelevant to think about it. For example, now we have Studio North with the Noordvoerders and everything. We have money in the project. But that money when we've spent it, there's no money anymore. My question to Hungary, but it's the same question that's in the project for Tilburg, is all these ideas. What do we want to make sustainable? And how do we do that? Who is raising the money for the next step? And who do you need? You can call me, of course, and then I will think about it, and we do, and not only me from a cultural perspective, but also my colleagues from a social perspective or city development. You can also find other ways to raise your money. So that's a question for me. How will you do that? I'm also curious how we do that with the several projects still operating now in the north of Tilburg. How do we do the next step? Who is paying? Because I agree totally that we have to pay the youngsters for what they're doing. Otherwise, they take a job. And they're right. They need money. But somebody has to pay. So, question 4. I don't know.
Okay, at least I'm trying. The first question, if I understand it correctly, if we want to bring these networks into the system, and what does it mean exactly? I think it's a kind of a bias correction, because large institutions like the municipality has its own circle of influencers, circle of stakeholders whom it can incline. But it can be biased after some years, because you always turn to the familiar faces whom you consider to be prominent in the district, and while neglecting all the newcomers. Thus, we run some of the tenders we mentioned in the presentation, like the Insert application or Szabad liberated spaces, yeah, we can translate to that, to find new and emerging networks. Maybe not only those prominent figures have a great contribution to the life of the district, whom we already know. And on the other hand, how to go on with it, from where you get the money. So it's a kind of disappointing thing from a financial point of view, because I think the UIA project largely not just created great new things, but also great new responsibilities and expenses, because we have to run these projects if we consider them great. So that's why we are going on with the Nagy Előadó, the university contest, with the Szabad project, with the Adaptér programs, because we think that these provide a great contribution value. So, you know, as you are aware of it, municipalities can have compulsory tasks and, I'm sorry? Additional tasks. We just found new and great and important additional tasks, but we must run them. We must pay for them if we consider them a great contribution to the life of the district.
With a changing government in the Netherlands, that's going to be tricky. Yes, another person in there. Yeah, I like it.
Thank you. Just a tiny addition that this district is quite a wealthy district. Most people have here assets and time to do good things, but the mentality and the mindset is more of the challenge. So we worked with a lot of projects that didn't really need money. They needed the time and the care.
I was going to say something pretty similar to that, because of course money is an issue everywhere. It's okay, but the mentality thing, so it's quite interesting to see that in this post-socialist area, how not community focused the majority of the people are. And our unofficial motto in this project, I don't know why it's not official yet, but we always use this inspiration, education, creation. So these are the 3 steps, the 3 phases of this user journey. So basically what we are trying to do is to encourage this type of active citizen participation in these processes by these pilot projects. So our whole idea was to inspire them with these type of initiatives, then teach them how to organize, how to do these type of things in terms of like collaborating with others, administrative issues, blah, 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 blah. A lot of things that they don't really need money for. So that was the inspiration, education, and then creation. The last thing is the last part when they're actually doing it, and then fingers crossed they'll keep doing it after the project ends. So hopefully, if this project is successful, then it should be running without the money as well, because it was only for the spark, the triggering point. We'll see in a year or two whether we were successful, but that was the whole idea.
It sounds very promising, but like you say, let's see it in 2 or 3 years. But it's slightly the same, but also slightly different. Oh, yeah, Shuja. But I will come back to your questions as well. I'm not forgetting, really.
Okay, so I'm responding now as a mother from the 11th district, that my kids used to attend the schools here in the 11th district, and I want to connect it to my experiences and your experiences, Ulko, with the financial issues of North Tilburg. Paul, who used to be the project leader before Ines, and he said, I think it's a very, very important sentence, goes back to what you said as well, that volunteering is the privilege of the middle class. And I think it's a very, very important sentence, that you can do voluntary things if you are above a certain level. And I think you're right, the 11th district is above this level. And what I can see here is that there is great potential of community work in everyone here. I would say, like, what I've seen is all positive examples. And I don't think that, it's not the mentality of the people. I would argue a little bit with you. It's not in the mentality, but I think the lack of ways, the lack of the channels to do this, because like at a school level, which is like very well organized, because there is a very clear structure that what is a school and what can you do within that. You know whom to turn to, because that's the headmistress, and then you can organize the Christmas fair, you collect money, you do activities, you do, I don't know, you do everything. So that like clearly works, and there's clearly a lot of energy, a lot of voluntarity, so everything is good. But like what's missing, and why maybe this CAP is a very good example, that you gave these channels through which this kind of community feeling and community activity can be turned to the neighborhood, to a neighborhood level. Because I think it's not a question of mentality, but it's a kind of how to channel it to work at a neighborhood level. Yeah, sorry.
Sorry, no, it's...
I completely agree with that. So what I was going to say is that it's still something, a little reactive type of thing. So when there is something organized in a structured way, and then you know what expected from, then it's happening and it's good, and there's a community spirit there. But what you can see as like a lot of good practices in terms of like neighborhood brunches or whatever, like people getting together, organizing proactively something, not reacting to a call. That is what's missing, I think, from my perspective, but I might be wrong.
I turned it off, sorry. My point is not the volunteering. My point is fair pay. And Chiara raised the questions. How do we realize fair pay for youngsters? So, and that's a question that we have to answer also for the future. Not from the project budget, but for the future. How can we realize fair pay for the youngsters?
No, we keep silent because we don't have an answer to that yet. Oh, yes. One of your questions.
I don't have an answer to this either, and to be very honest, I hear myself enough, so I really don't have to play an active role here. But I would actually go back to the question of policy making and who makes policies, because I think maybe more at the implementation level now, we have the new structures, we have the youth fund, we have the North furthers, we have the consultation council. So there's a lot of involvement of different kinds of people, youth and elderly and other people who are not at the table at the policy making, at the level of deciding about what project should be supported. Similarly here, there's a lot of people who are not at the policy making table. They are invited to do little things, do projects, channel their energies through these channels that are offered, build collaborations, start working together. So the big question for me is, how does this trickle up to the level of policy making? How does this change the way you work on the decision making level? Because obviously it cannot remain intact, because probably there's a lot of feedback coming from the ground, and this is I'm really curious how this feedback goes back to go up, but also just the way you treat culture. I mean, traditionally, what was culture? Culture was museums, galleries. Even here in the district, now in the mid 2000s, culture was galleries, and it's great. You have galleries, but also you have a lot of galleries which are actually restaurants, but they have 3 paintings on the wall, so they are galleries. But does it give a lot to us? Maybe it does. Maybe not to everyone. And now we see this shift to a culture that is, as we heard yesterday, culture is connection, culture is collaboration, culture is empathy towards other kinds of thinking. We heard about culture as media, culture as a way to distribute one's messages in the world. And this is not the old idea about culture. So when you bring this idea back to the municipal structure, which traditionally was social services, real estate, finance, culture, environment, all separated. So it must change your way of thinking about all these projects. And my question is, how does it change your way of working and thinking?
I can start to answer the first part of your questions concerning the concrete activity, such as the Youth Fund. Is all about bringing the policymakers into the neighborhood. So in this case, for example, when we started to organize, to gather the ideas of how to organize this youth fund, we also invited the 2 policymakers, the colleagues of ULCO, to hear and experience what the thoughts and to get to know the Noordvoerders and the playing field in the neighborhood. And we also invited them to take part in that stimulation commission. So to get fed by the ideas and by what's playing around with the youngsters, and also now we are already thinking and to organize meetings with them, with Chiara, but also with probably her manager. And with the Noordvoerders as well, to see how can we concrete this and make it sustainable and embed it into policies of our municipality, but also in the policy of the welfare organization in which Chiara is part of. So let's see how we can make smart collaborations and connections, but it all starts with like I said before, with all the things, go into the neighborhood, talk with the stakeholders, with the neighbor, with the inhabitants, and listen to them. And the second part of the question, you can say more about it.
No, I heard several questions, maybe starting with the term of culture. Before I came into the municipality as an art historian, I was working in a museum, making exhibitions and everything. I don't think we know what culture is, and that's good. Every day we find new forms of culture. It's influenced by everything, by techniques, etc. That was also in your presentation yesterday, and I've had a small look on the booklets you put in the bag. Fantastic. I like them because they're raising a lot of questions, and there you see also the influence. There was one booklet about photography, for example. There you have the same question. What is it exactly? We have new ways you can manipulate photography, etc. So we will never know what culture exactly is. That's one thing. Then something about changing policy. If you look up for the word policy, you'll find a very simple description. It's a plan for a certain period with a certain budget. That's one. So, but if you raise the question, for example, how can we give a future to the Noordvoerders, a very successful Studio Noord, how can we do that? I don't have the idea that I can protect Noordvoerders, but I can be a building stone, so to say, stepping stone to protect it. And how do it in practice, and give you some tips and tricks how I do it. It's not, it's just what I do. It can be in different ways. But I realize what I said before, you can, from several perspectives, look at Noordvoerders and the Studio Noord. What I can do from my culture policy, say it's worthful from a cultural point of view. But if I want to protect Noordvoerders better, then I contact my colleagues from the social department. Think about youth, for example, and I go to my colleague from city development. How interesting that we have a special place where youngsters come together. Can you protect it in your way? Can you give it a place in your policy? So if you find several perspectives on an initiative, the chance that you can protect it for the future is, I think, better. And you also find more, if necessary. It's not always about finance, but you have some more budgets that you can bring together to raise the money to realize, for example, fair pay for the youngsters, if you need it, or the possibility that they pay the rent, because Studio Noord is not in a building that is from the municipality, so they have to pay rent, for example. So,
I have one other perspective on ELCO's. I learned them to decentralize the ownerships of the payers. So the municipality has a little funding to us, the housing company has a little funding, my own organization has a little funding, also for the future. And if there are a lot of partners giving a little funding, then we still have the ownership. Because if they want to say something, they can fight together about the finances. So that's my strategy from the practice I know. And I learn them so they can have the ownership. Because of, in many ways, of many activities, with all the good intentions, they want to take back the ownership from the youngsters. So if I can decentralize the fundings, then we still have the ownership.
This is really tips and tricks from the practice side, because from a system, this makes it so complicated. No, but you're right. It is, because, like you say, the ownership is very important. Yeah. You wanted to add something, or?
No, I totally agree. It's the best stay out of municipality if you can raise it yourself or organize it in a different way.
A small part.
We're just a partner. We're a possible partner. If you can do it another way, be my friend.
Vicky.
Thank you, Major Tanya. I would actually have a question to be addressed to both projects, so both Tilburg guys and also the CUP guys. To come back to success, and I fully agree with you, Ulko, what is success? It's always going to be a perspective. But do you see, or do you foresee any unexpected success, which was not part of the game initially, which was not part of the project at the beginning or at the phase of the development, and you see as an organically or evolutionary outgrow of the project, which you didn't foresee at any moment of the project, because that could also be a success. And if I were UIA, which I am not, and don't be afraid, I don't have the ambition. But so do you see anything like that, even out of the scope of the project or out of the scope? Yeah, I finish it. Sorry. So just to make it comprehensive, the question. So do you see any unexpected element in the project which could be positive?
We have a special name for that. We have deliverables and we have discoverables. Yeah, and she here wrote wonderful articles about it, our discoverables. We have huge successes outside of Forward, I think. And we're all reporting them, although it's not, within the project, but yeah. So, you'll, of course. No, I'm just... Oh, really? Yeah, that's true. You want to?
I could kick off a little bit, maybe. Yes, a lot, in a way. The first article about Forward was in the national paper, and there was a youngster saying, why is there 4 million euro spent on culture in our neighborhood? We need it for poverty and for other questions. So there we are. We didn't start yet, and COVID began to do his job in Europe. So there was a lot of reaction that didn't. They gave us a lot of topics that were not real in the project. Questions about poverty, but also about sports, for example. We realized for the youngsters in the north, sports were maybe more important than culture. That has to do with this idea that culture is about high art, high-level art, museums, galleries, and there are no galleries, there are no museums in the north. So for them, it was what we call the urban culture, skating and everything, rapping, urban dance. And then you have this connection between sports and arts, it's intermingled. So there you see that something starts to develop that's completely out of the project, but has an enormous influence on how we proceed in on the project and what's happening in the neighborhood. And this is just one example. I realized that as a municipality, I'm part of the municipality, I can't say what the police is thinking, how the police is feeling the project in their way of operating. But as a municipality, because there are constantly questions about what's happening in the north, there you find out that your colleagues that are not related to the project raise questions, and then you have this dialogue together from what does it mean, not only for the north, but also for West Tilburg or the south, where there are also deprived areas, or in the center where there are projects. Dus it's very difficult to pinpoint all the outcomes of a project. And most of the time, maybe the most important thing is that you find people that are really interested in what's happening. They bring it further. It's not the system as a system, it's people. In the end, it's just people. In 3 years, I'm out of the office, I'm too old, they don't want to have me anymore, but my young colleague, Shea, she's very interested in youth and what's happening there. I'm sure she finds her own way to proceed. And maybe completely different than I do, but that's not the point, I think. And yeah, maybe Suja, you've been in Tilburg a lot of times. Maybe you see or have heard also stories. This is what's coming up now.
No, but maybe Suja, is it because we want, of course, the other project as well to share their success outside of the project and not just a forward show. Save it, maybe. Yeah. Who will do the honors to talk? Yeah.
Actually, it's a really hard and tough question because it's hardly discernible. When we started the project, furthermore, when we applied to the UIA, we read through the application form a lot of times, and we have some hard time to even understand what is written there. Because, you know, it's a high-level bureaucratic language of the European Union. Of course, if you're familiar with that, you understand what kind of strategic goal it aims to. But from a local point of view, from a municipality point of view, they are hardly tangible. So, in this sense, of course, we had this starting point, digital loneliness, which were put away in the end, because it was not a real goal in our way of in our journey. So we had to realize that this is not the main point of this whole project. So in this sense, everything was unexpected, really unexpected. But on the other hand, we did not discover something totally new. We discovered things that had been already existing in our ecosystems. So maybe I could summarize it that we were able to gain a reflection on how our city is actually working, how the networks are actually working, and what potential connections we do have.
Yeah, I recognize it, and it's a nice answer. Good question. Yeah, Shusha, just a minute, because how much time is left? 10 minutes. Oh, we will keep talking, but then I will not have a mic. And
I'm sorry, you can bring it in.
I would love it. So
Very short question.
Okay.
Both. Very short question to both projects.
Again.
Again. Yeah, because what Ugo, you said about yourself as well as being the new type of civil servant who goes around to the different departments and makes the connections. This is a role, but it's also an internal institutional learning. So I think an institutional learning within the municipality is also a result. What do you see it as a result? And like, can you just formalize it? What is the internal result for your municipality? And to go back to the measurement, is there any way that this can be measured anyhow on any way?
Yeah, understand. Ilko?
Yeah, for sure, because then I have to maybe introduce a little bit about Tilburg, because then you understand the city. We are not a city that raised from one spot. We are a young city, existing only about 200 years, and there were several villages that are growing together. So that is in our DNA, so to say. And what we have seen, and I'm sure Ford had influence on this discussion, is that we break down silos at this moment by introducing a new kind of policy, and it's called a neighborhood policy. So they pinpoint several districts in our city and say we bring together several policymakers and people that are working in that space, like Chiara and the people for housing companies. So they form new teams so they can, from a more several perspectives, find out what is needed for that neighborhood. And that's parallel to the silos that still exist in our municipality. So we have two systems working. And what I said, I'm sure that what happened in the north has influenced the discussion. Maybe it accelerated that way of working even. And I know, and it has also to do with national programs in the Netherlands, that we have at least 3 districts where we take the lessons from the north, and all the 3 are the difficult districts with a lot of problems, poverty, so there you have it, and you don't have to measure it. It's visible in the way we organize our municipality. It was not there before. So yeah, what you want? You want a number or a figure?
No, it's enough. Thank you.
I don't know whether I fly back with you. Take a train.
Wow, tough questions actually. Okay, let's start with the institutionalization part. I think from our part we can try our best. So we can start making strategies being accepted from political bodies, and we can also try to from time to time to revise them. To make the work of the municipality more professional in this way, and not really ad hoc, at least not politically ad hoc. But we cannot guarantee that in the case of any kind of political changes, especially in such an extreme political extremization, which can be seen in Hungary as well, that these results could be preserved. So I cannot guarantee that if in the next election any change would appear, some propaganda wouldn't dare to say that, I don't know, adopted is just a LGBTQI propaganda core, so we have to destroy it. And then it can be destroyed. And it doesn't really matter if there is a accepted strategy. So this is the first part. I'm not really afraid of this here in Budapest and here in UIA Buda, but to understand that the position of political institutions, we must also see that there is a really great fracture in the political spectrum in Hungary. So we don't have a common agreement, even on terms. On the other hand, measuring what? If you are mentioning, if you can measure the results, I must drop back the question. So because of course we have the sheer numbers of how many programs has been organized, but I think this is not the kind of thing you're interested in. You are interested in, or at least from I would be interested in, what kind of effects did we have? But and now we can wander off to the side of the let's say CCI sector we presented yesterday. But I think it would be more interesting, at least for me, to understand the result of these projects in a European level. So it would be really interesting to run a survey from the Commission, for example, or from the OECD to check how community innovation projects in general contributed to the general well-being of the European citizens or to the innovative power of the European firms. I think this would be the appropriate level how these European projects should be evaluated in the end. But it's only a really personal point of view.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, now I understand. Yes, so the question was if the structure of the municipality has changed from, if I understand your question correctly, from a silo-like operation into another kind of operation. Yes and no, because some projects we run, we are also trying to do it in an interdisciplinary way to involve a lot of different perspectives, and not just only in the European projects, but also in other cultural projects as well. But it's not always the case. There are also other stuff which are working and operating totally differently. I mean, taxation is not involved in cultural, cultural heritage, for example, when we are establishing new or installing new memorials for famous Hungarian actors. So I'm not saying that it's totally changed. I'm saying that it has been slightly modified.
It's a political answer, I think. No, but it's realistic at the same time. Okay, just to finish off, because we're running out of time, I'm hungry, and a short question, but a nice one, I think, to end with. What are you the most proud of? Ines, will you answer it for Forward?
What makes me proud is the collaboration with all the 11 partners and the Noordvoerders as well. And all those pretty discoverables, but also all those deliverables and the results we achieved so far. I hope it's not broken. Okay, so proud of the results achieved so far, and I'm very curious and looking forward to the upcoming results, of course, because obviously the project runs until April. So I'm looking forward to another project to do. But the collaboration with each other and also the in-depth discussions we organize with the partners and we have with our partners, that's also very interesting, and it broadens your perspectives. So yeah, that.
No, but we will not ask everyone.
Okay. I think all the people with whom we were able to work together and cooperate. The professionals, civilians, because it was a really skill and knowledge sharing project, I think, and we really have to come up with something new, at least from a local point of view. So I think it wouldn't have been done properly without all the enthusiast colleagues whom were working a lot, whom were putting a lot of energy, even above the level of minimally expected. And I think this is, at least from my point of view, the greatest thing I'm proud of.
Yeah, thanks. Anybody else? Oh no, I was shutting it down, so sorry. But the official task is yours, of course.
All right. So I've never had an easier job moderating, so we should have a Tanya in every round table. You earned my portion of the lunch as well, so it's your reward. So I would like to thank you all for being here. Thank you all for being here. And the Cup for Creativity doesn't end here. Forward doesn't end here. Of course, as we heard, they live forward, they live in the future, and I hope we can continue the exchange and the connections between the cities. Thank you all.